Have you ever wanted a game to be just like Fire Emblem? To be honest, I have. There's not much love for the genre. I mean, I know we have XCOM, FF Tactics, Gears Tactics, and the list goes on, but the thing is that the way they build Fire Emblem is kind of special, special to me. Like those square designed little maps that make you explore them with different units. Again, there are games like that. There's also King Arthur A Knight's Tale. There's just something about Fire Emblem that's so special. So, little disclaimer, I will be comparing this game too much with Fire Emblem because it's just a different Fire Emblem. Be aware of that. Also be aware that this is a kickstarted game from a very small studio, so that's to have in mind as well. Also, a copy of the game, a review copy of the game was provided by the developers, so thank you very much for that, but I am going to be purchasing the game for myself. As of right now, writing this review, there is no price for the game yet, but I am going to support the developers to buy the game. So, that being said, my opinions are my own and they are not affected by the developers giving me a review code. They did not say anything for me. If you like the content, a like on the video and a subscription is super appreciated, and let's start with graphics first. I would say that overall, graphics are great. Texture work is amazing, at least when it comes to the battles on themselves. It also has the immersion side of things, the maps and levels that match the overall level design, and God, when you fight in castles, battlements, walls, the sun in the background, it's really so good to watch. It also has some of the coolest armor designs I have ever seen in an RPG, in a video game for that matter. Leather, plate, mail, you can see the difference, and it's a difference that's enjoyable and pleasing to the eye. It really does not get much better than this, but there is a little catch. There are not enough armor designs to differentiate a character from another. That is truly a shame, but we'll get into that in the narrative section of the review. That said, armors are so damn good looking for every single class that you have in the game. On the other hand, animations, that's where the game suffers. It is promised to be a cinematic experience that keeps you on edge with cutscenes and twists for the plot. And yes, there are many animated cutscenes, but the problem is facial animations. It is a fresh thing to have actual 3D characters conversing in dialogues rather than the usual character sheets. Still, face animation they are just not finished. At least that's on the build that I played. At least not on the build that I played, on the build that I tried. Eyes are expressless. The only emotion on the face you can see is from the lower half of the face, the mouth. It hurts the immersion, I have to say. It is a nice touch that they do reflect what they are saying with their hands. That's an oratory technique. Still, what is the point of that if the eyes make them feel like they're mindless robots moving their lips and hands, like they were frozen from mouth to top? Hope that it gets changed with a day one patch and the game ends up being amazingly cinematic. If not, it really does hurt the experience. So, narrative. You are Eden, a good-hearted mercenary that wishes to help people, and by doing so gets himself caught up in a rebellion against the Empire. A rebellion that he never asked for. In a gruesome game, sad and strong plot twist, you can definitely see the cliches flying around. It is an amazingly kind of story that should keep you immersed. If you're able to pass the animation spoken about before, characters have a very Eastern voice. And by that I mean that they have a flat personality without roundness, but that is not bad at whatsoever. Because Eastern developers are masters in that specific craft. The light-hearted hero, the bad villain, the strong, big, weird, funny guy, the centered, over-disciplined mage, the always happy kind of weird dude with girl problems. Every personality that you can think of is here. But they do not change. They are flat, they are not round characters. Now, when it comes to the armor aforementioned, Well, it has to be commended that they did an amazingly surprising job making character faces from one another. Only main characters develop into different armors and looks at later stages of the game. Fire Emblem, color, they define them. Oscar, the Green Knight, Kieran, the same knight as Oscar but in red. And that's how you differentiate them, that's how you remember them, because you place something specific to them and you remember because of. If you place in here, it's hard to give something special to separate the characters from what they are into something special that's specifically for them and them only. Nevertheless, I did enjoy everyone's personality and felt the necessity to be speaking with every single one of my 5 favorites that form part of my main roster. They do have something interesting with each and every single one of them, so now let us move on to music and voice.
Then shut up already. I don't want to talk to you either.
What should we do with her?
It's not our call. We'll take her to Castilian and leave it to Isoro.
Anne.
Sounds good. They do their job while you are on missions, clashes, spells, battles. While you are on missions, again, as I mentioned before, they do the job and mostly feel what they are supposed to feel and do, although not on cutscenes and side stuff like contextual actions like soldiers training and the battlefield that you have on your encampment. Fire Emblem, again, when a villain popped out into the dialogue menu, they would use this regular dun 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 dun, and while annoying for some people, I know, it gave a characterization to the scene. You know, when Ike or Marth or any hero appears in the scene, there's this symbolic, hopeful, and heroic sound in the background that reminds you that there's the main dude sounding like or when Alicia is a princess or a princess or Mia appears on the screen on Fire Emblem games, something softer with bells and a delicate sound would be there that would remind you of that dramatization and giving a specific dramatic scene to that character and that specific mood for the scene. Something that happens as well, there's moody music that it's going to set up the area, the feeling for that specific cutscenes. Again, there is no music conversation on cutscenes for Los Eidolons, and while you might argue that adds to the immersion and a little bit more grounded and crude tone of the game, that sets pretty much the game for that, the lack of eye animation more often than not make the game without the music feel empty and void at that specific place. But then let's talk about the gameplay. Again, Fire Emblem strategy turn-based game where you have your units and have to kill everyone else. Oh boy, yeah, give me that. Additions. Welcome additions to the formula. You can undo actions. Although there is no significant reason, narrative reason for this, like Fire Emblem Awakening introduced. You can just undo actions just because of the sake of it. I mean, that's fine, you know? If a unit dies, you can undo the action and try a different approach. You can do so 10 times per battle. It also has divinity takes, like Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2 takes, elements that affect terrain. Enemies drenched in water are susceptible to lightning as well as cold damage. Water puddles can be frozen to stun enemies that are on them specifically, cancelling their turns. Water can be dried out with fire, etc, etc. I do have to say that the one mechanic that is not necessary, the undo mechanic that is not necessary, since you do have the casual mode of the game to prevent units from dying and not being able to return the next battle. And to be honest, I really did not feel this as a difficult game. Never in my entire playthrough did any of my units die. At least not on normal difficulty. I had to try it out again on the next difficulty, but I do have to comment that accessibility features are always welcome. To undo actions, to have the casual mode if you are one of those not so much of a fan of permadeath mechanics in games, then this game has you covered and you won't actually have to worry about that. One great thing that I love is that there is no longer that huge complication when trying to level up certain specific units to master class them later in the game. If you are a Fire Emblem player, you know then how damn annoying is to level up a low-level Acha or a priest. Here everyone gets experience. You still need to use them, they still have to be useful and carry their weight in battle, but everyone gets the same amount of experience for participating in the battle, regardless of how much you do have to approach the battle and do something for yourself. Again, carry your weight yourself, but in battle, healing units gives you as much experience as hitting units. Hitting units gives you as much experience as killing units. If everyone plays out that part in the fight, there will be no preferences for experience. It made my army and level management so much easier during my playthrough, and I had always my main squad on the same level and master classing because of no longer having to rely on boss healing cheeses to level up units. Really appreciated. Very well done right there. Now campment. It can be traversed in third person, and well, yeah, it is well managed as well. What can I say? There is a fast travel mechanic inside of the campment, so every time you expand the campment, there's always an easy way to go to where you want to go. I like the simplified in-between campment menu from previous Fire Emblem games other than Three Houses, but I do appreciate the chance to be able to physically be there, go to my pals, to my comrades, speak with them, train with them, eat with them, get to know them specifically. In campment, you can access equipment, gear up your character, do prestige missions that more often than not involve doing things on the main campment. Sometimes you will have to go to optional missions. They do have dialogue and purposes, so they do feel nice to do as well other than the main missions. And again, another comparison is that this is where I feel they could have done a better job. Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn is a 15 years old game. 15! A game for the Wii platform. And it had over 80 classes. Yes, you heard correctly, 80 classes. You could not see the joy I experience in every playthrough trying to get my characters to as many classes as possible because of the amazingly over-the-top skills they had, the new armors and color designs, the new mounts. Hell, you had horses, Pegasus, dragons. It was so goddamn amazing in Lost Eidolons. Well, it only has 18 classes. Again, they are interesting and armor designs are amazing, beautiful, some of the best armor designs that I have ever seen on armor for a character in video games. But you are just there, left wanting for more. If they give you that amazingness, you are just there wanting for more, especially since previous games from so many years ago had many more to offer. But do have in mind that there's so much quality in this one. The armors are amazing, and this is a little small team, so I guess that we can pass that. I do not know. So anyways, as always, I break down the games as best as I can without spoiling nor adding bias, and at the end of the review, if you are interested in my opinion, biased or like it or not, should you buy it, I say it. Have in mind that this is a Kickstarter game. At the time of writing this review, there is still not a price for the game on Steam, so I hope it's not a full-priced game. If it does, it doesn't feel like a AAA, and there are some things that could have been perfected and much to be learned from. This is a brand new founded studio and their first game drop into the rodeo. I would definitely advise for you to buy the game and support the developers if it's not a full price $60 game, that is. If it is, then wait for a sale. But it's full of enjoyment. You will have you will have so much enjoyment. If you are not into tactical RPGs, then it is definitely not going to change the genre for you. It's not going to change your opinion about the genre. But if you are indeed a fan of the genre, I would definitely invite you to try it out, support the developers, and not just because of that, but because it's a fun game that has a lot of charm to it. Like I said, it is not a perfect game. AAA with full budget to be able to provide you with a Hollywood experience, cinematic experience, but there's so much quality, and despite the little hiccups here and there, it's a damn gorgeous looking game that will give you tons of hours of enjoyment. That being said, remember, like always, to like the video and subscribe before you close the door. It helps the channel grow like you have no idea. And remember that no one else told you today that you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Have a beautiful day. Now we'll see you goddamn gorgeous, beautiful people in the next one. Goodbye.